Thank you for having me. Secretary of Labor actually gave a wonderful summary of what I'm about to present, so I do appreciate that. Now, can I have the slides, please? I started presenting this 2 years ago. The first big meeting was this International Health and Safety meeting. Health and Safety meeting. And these people, you know, they were talking about important things. Fumes and fire, noise, smoke, things that can really hurt the worker. And here I am, I'm talking about food. You know, it comes across as kind of a luxury. I'm the guy talking about food. It didn't seem to fit in with the rest of these people. There's this idea of short-term food poisonings. If you go out in the street and you have something to eat on the street, and you can get sick for a day, not a major problem, but there have been site-wide situations where in construction sites where all the workers are eating out of a collective pot, the entire workforce is sickened for 1 day, 2 days. People have died. This is a serious situation in China in the construction sites, so serious that Beijing now has printed a manual to how to prepare and store food on these construction sites because so many workers have been getting sick. And of course, it's about productivity. Across the board, we have seen in all these case studies, you serve better food, you give better access to food, and the morale goes up, and the absenteeism comes down. It's across the board we see this happening. But that's my question. Is it a matter of genetics, or is it a matter of choice? Or no choice, it may be. I mean, here's a street in the United States. Well, lots of choices. You can go to McDonald's, or you can go to Burger King, or you can go to KFC, or Taco Bell, which is kind of like what Americans think Mexican food is all about. Or you can go to Afghanistan, where there's many situations where there's no food. No genetics come in here. It's just a matter of no choice. So the book, the idea of food at work is kind of a proactive approach, to use the workplace as a point of intervention. You have to reach the people, and most of us are workers, and most of us are spending half our waking hours at work. All of us are getting at least one meal at work, if not two. So it's an ideal place to reach the people, to get better food into the people. I mean, you can start with schools. That's a fine idea. But, you know, once you graduate, you have this gap from age 20 to age 100 where you have to eat. And this is the best place to reach these people will be a workplace situation. So let's look at Mexico, some of the situations in Mexico. And, of course, we're hearing it, diabetes and obesity. You know, I spoke here 2 years ago, and, well, the situation isn't any better. If anything, it's a little worse. The good thing is that there's more of a dialogue now about the impact of diabetes and obesity. But in Mexico, it's unbelievable. It's the leading cause of death. I don't think any other country in the world has diabetes as their leading cause of death. And if there's any good news here, is that it's largely nutritionally based, and that you can improve the situation by improving the nutrition. Same idea with obesity. In Mexico, second only to the United States in the amounts of people who are overweight or obese. But the scary thing is that in the last 15 years, there's been a 50% increase in this. So back in the 1990s, it wasn't that much of a problem. You know, 15 years later, wow. I mean, you're overwhelmed with this problem. But let's not forget, although the screen kind of forgets it, at the bottom there, iron anemia. This is the situation in the other Mexico, where a lot of people don't have much to eat, and where up to 50% of the women have low blood iron deficient. Then you have the other side of this, you know, the lack of nutrients, like iron and certain vitamins and minerals. And again, iron deficiency, which the Labor Secretary had mentioned, we see up to a 30% reduction in work productivity, especially in manual labor, where, you know, harvesting sugarcane, things that take a lot of energy to do. We're finding a lot lower productivity as a result of having low blood iron. And again, a very expensive proposition. This idea of, it starts in your childhood, you know, when you're stunted, when you have poor nutrition growing up, you don't develop properly mentally or physically, and then you become workers, and the whole nation suffers from this lack of productivity. Next slide, please. So that's why you can see this cycle of poverty that the Labor Secretary alluded to, where, you know, you're poor, you can't feed yourself well, and you can't work well. you have low productivity, the whole nation suffers from low productivity, wages stay low, this just continues, and then you still don't have enough to eat, and it goes on and on. But fortunately, if you can flip that around, if you can get more calories, more healthy calories into people, we have seen studies where the productivity jumps up by 20%, and then the cycle starts going the opposite direction. Give you a quick overview of what this book is all about. My colleague is here from the ILO. Will give you a much better idea. And we also heard an excellent overview of this decent work idea. I just wanted to say the book, it was the ILO's idea. This office, they hired me to find out information about this and consolidate it. And that's what we've done. We presented examples from around the world. So we found that these food solutions, it seems that there's about 5 or 6 ways that employees go about feeding their workers, and there's this cafeteria idea that you can imagine. It's one of the most expensive solutions on the books, but the idea is to provide healthy food in these cafeterias. You have this meal voucher idea, which I'll talk about, of giving coupons to the workers, but also lots of inexpensive ideas that are kind of clever. Mess rooms, just an empty room where workers or vendors can bring in food. Lots of really low-cost ideas. So even street food, some people think it's a dirty word, street food, but it doesn't have to be. The food can be nutritious. It certainly is tasty, and it can be healthier, especially if you help with the sanitation. And South Africa actually has a very good model that the World Health Organization is picking up on. But how to provide the vendors, give the vendors access to clean water, a place to store their food, utensils to use to minimize the hand contact, and even just lessons on proper food handling. That's it. So thank you for your time.